that, I mean, technically, could I have spent, hundreds of hours reading and watching videos and doing all these things? I could have. And I still would have been double guessing, second guessing myself, right?
Yeah,
Because I
that's
can't
right.
see outside of my own eyes and my own perspective. But being able to have someone who is with me in that was so helpful. Welcome to Flourishing Flame, from burning out to burning bright with therapist and coach Leah Brown. Are you a people helper or caregiver? Feeling overwhelmed, distant, cynical, and crispy around the edges? Join me to defeat burnout by learning how to manage stress and create deep connective relationships with others so that you can pursue your calling, providing light and warmth to those around you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flourishing Flame podcast. I'm your host, Leah Brown, and I have a special guest with me today. Ali Miller is a consultant's consultant, and I just really love that she was able to join me today. I told you she was coming, and we're going to have just this wonderful conversation learning about her and her journey into becoming a consultant. I'll let her give you her personal story on how she came to have this business and this consultantship, and just talk about how she uses the gifts that she has flourished, that she's cultivated to be able to help other people to be more confident in their everyday life, to save time and save money because they are using her encouragement and training. So, Ali, thank you for being here. So happy to have you.
That was such a lovely introduction, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to reconnect.
Yes. So I actually have hired Ali as a consultant and was introduced to her through my sister, who she also worked with. And so, Ali, will you tell us what you do and how you came to this special? It's really a gift to other people to be able to
Aw.
work with you.
Oh, what a kind thing to say. Well, yeah, I think from a very young age, I was sort of encouraged on this path by family and friends and things. And the dean of my theater department, Patricia Wesp, I'm really sorry I didn't become a costume designer, but you were right all along. But anyway, I think that um, had other plans. And, I basically, when I was a nonprofit professional, I started this as a side hustle, and it was sort of an odd thing. I just built a website for my husband, which, by the way, has nothing to do with any professional job I've ever had, but he needed the help, and I'm pretty aesthetic and I'm pretty technical. So I was like able to do it. And then I was like, that was easy. And I like the next day, I just built one for my imaginary side hustle that was in my head and encouraging me to do for like literally 10 years. And I don't know if I just didn't have the courage, or I couldn't see how the market would work, because at that time it was still a bit more niche to shop second market. Um, but like, I used to have friends encourage me to monetize it, or people would just stop me on the street and say, "Oh, I love what you're wearing." And I'd say, "Oh, it's from the thrift store." And they'd say, "Oh, will you, do you take people with you?" And I was like, "No, I don't take strangers to the thrift store." But then, the more I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, could it be money?" I don't know. But I just wasn't sure if the people who liked the idea of that also had the money to hire consultants, which is a little bit of like a crass concern, but we do have to think about that, right? So anyway, I started my little website, and then, a colleague needed some help or something. Anyway, one thing led to the other, and it became like a legitimate side hustle. And then, right before a big milestone birthday, which I'm not afraid to say my age or anything on, but it's like, does everybody need to know every part of my business? Maybe not. But before a big milestone birthday, I was like, what if this was like a really nice gift that I gave myself, that I would just really give this a shot and really like do the thing that feels scariest and bravest to me at this moment in time in my career. And so I took the leap, and um, I've been growing every year, and I'm so grateful for this like little community of people that are helping me, and you're one of them. And yeah, I'm so grateful for it. And I really love I bet I love my job, like the part of my job that you probably love your job the most of.
Mm,
It's like
mhm.
it's the people part, it's the people part and really getting to know someone and what makes them tick and what they really need and want and seeing how you can offer solutions to help them get there. And I think probably we both have sort of like a teach a person to fish business, odd analogy for a vegan, but you know what I mean. And I love that part of it. Like, I really wanna work myself out of a job and make it so that the thing that paralyzed someone with anxiety or fear or overwhelm before when they, like, looked at a store or looked inside their closet, or even just, like, they always felt like there was something they were missing that hadn't quite clicked or whatever the things or their body just changed, their lifestyle just changed, those things. Um, it's such a pleasure to help people solve that problem for themselves and need you never after, hopefully, like,
Right?
it's
Yeah.
such a pleasure.
One of the things I loved about working with you, Allie, is it was almost like, um, my own personal what not to wear in my own closet,
Oh,
right?
no.
And not in a negative sense, but just kind of like
Okay,
that
good.
kinda going through, shopping my closet, finding out what are those things that having someone who has a stylist eye and understands these principles of what how clothes um, bring out the wonderful things in your own body and personality and skin tones and all of that, and be able to know, okay, these things when I put them on together do this thing for me. But having that expertise that I didn't have, that I mean, technically, could I have spent hundreds of hours reading and watching videos and doing all these things? I could have, and I still would have been double guessing, second guessing myself,
Yeah,
right? Because I
that's
can't
right.
see outside of my own eyes and my own perspective. But being able to have someone who is with me in that was so helpful and really changed how I shop
Oh, I'm
and
glad to
and yeah, which is so good. So I
thank you.
yeah, and I love that in the episode where I was talking about consultants, I was talking about how consultants are observant, right? That they're taking in these things, noticing them, and then being able to give an accurate evaluation to be able to say, oh, these things are working well for you, or these things are not, or if you tweaked this, like tuck that in, and it makes a difference. Where if you don't have that expertise already, you might not know. And so, and then giving an implementation, you gave me a plan, you gave me all these things. It was great. And so I just was wondering, as you run your business and as you're looking at, hey, this is how I do things, what are the ways that you see being a consultant kind of an outflow of of who you are as a person? Like, it sounds like from our conversations before, and even before we started recording, you have an eye for looking at what is helpful, and what's helpful not just in the small but in the bigger. And so you use your business and your role as a consultant to help, not just, like, yes, the one person that you're working with, but you also speak, right? And you also use your gift to help people to be empowered. Could you share how you kind of how consultancy is, it is for an individual, but it also has a bigger aperture?
Wow, what an interesting question. Yeah, I'll do my best, to give an answer worthy of the question, but I guess one thing is it feels to me like the first thing is you have to believe that people are capable of really meaningful growth, right? Like, you couldn't possibly do your work in the world, right? If you didn't have, like, a profound belief in that. Yeah? And when I was, you know, an artist professionally, the nature of my work was like very community engaged, and a foundational premise of that work was that like anybody can be an artist, and I really believe that still, that anybody and everybody kind of is in their way already if they wish to be. And and I feel that way about people's ability to style themselves. And what I find almost without exception is that people actually already had terrific intuition about it, and it just got drowned out by the noise of society, by fashion magazines telling them to wear mustard 4 years ago, and so now they have all this mustard in their closet, and mustard works on, like, 4% of the people probably, like, you know, but, like, whatever the things were, and, like, yeah, as you might expect, like, most of my clients are female presenting, and, we just get such a sort of crushing amount of, societal expectation and scrutiny on our appearances. And, my business is the ethical aesthete. And to me, the ethical component of that is like, how do you navigate today's beauty standards and society's beauty standards in a way that really feels high integrity? And
Mm.
doing that with a lot of consciousness, right? And so that feels like one way that I'm trying to contribute to something wider and more societal, as well as, I've one big shock of my business has been, um, a lot of women who had not shopped second market hire me, and I'm always, like, a little nervous about, well, I'm not anymore, but at first I was very nervous because I thought, "Oh, well," there's a way that it's very freeing, but there's also a way it can feel limiting if you're used to saying, "Oh, I do love these pants, but I wanna size up." You're like, "Well, there's only one of them." You know what I mean? So
Right.
you know what I mean? So I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
no, what if they kind of conflate that limitation and don't enjoy the experience or don't think I'm talented and able to serve them?" And it made me worry. But what I came to find out is the people who had sort of this like conversion to the hack of the sort of fashion ecosystem that a second market shop is, they were actually my most vocal ambassadors, actually. And I've had so many clients tell me, "Oh, I'm never gonna shop retail again. This is all I'm doing from now on," because it was a lot easier than they thought. They got the thrill of the hunt. I taught them how to do it well. And, so I think I'm able to contribute, those things sort of to wider society. And then, the piece of my consultancy that's like very one-on-one, and that I imagine, you really love about yours is like the part that's just like really about like deep listening to where that person is in their life and compassion. And yeah, that is really, I think, what really, because you sort of, I was like, my nonprofit jobs are really meaningful to me, and those missions had life-saving implications, like the last two jobs I had in that sector. And I really believed in what we were doing, and I part of me even wondered, oh, will this feel, superficial in some way after this work I've been doing for so long and working so hard at. And what I find is it doesn't. It doesn't, because even someone who's like never had an eating disorder, they're not in recovery, although I have a lot of clients, it turns out, that, share that with me, um, which requires, I find, a very particular approach and like a lot of transparency between the two of us. And I have recommendation. I think I'm going to put a blog post out about how to hire a stylist if that's in your history, because I think there's some
Oh.
things